All right. Good afternoon. Thank y'all for being here. Uh, Full transparency, Monty said it was time we meet, so we're meeting. All right. So now we're on a little bit different schedule. So you all kind of know we've really been on this Thursday schedule the whole time during fall camp. So had our last scrimmage on Thursday night, then kind of met on Friday. Didn't have anything on Saturday, and then started what we're calling a mock game week. We'll get into some pit as we go, but this is more of a mock game week, kind of train our guys to get ready for what the game week's actually going to be. We'll get really into pit prep on Friday. We'll do a mock game on Thursday, so kind of this mock game week with a mock game being played on Thursday, and then we're going to work some pit this week. Don't get me wrong, but our pit real in-depth preparation will start on Friday. Scrimmage wrap-up from last Thursday. We did a lot of special teams work. We're going to do some more special teams work in the stadium today. I thought that, we're a little further ahead than where we have been from a special team standpoint. And I think a lot of that has to do with just our roster's in better shape. We've got more guys that can run. I don't think we'll be as dependent as guys that are starters or are playing a high percentage of snaps. I don't think we'll be as dependent on those guys in special teams, which I think is going to help us as we go through a long, difficult schedule. But I do like where we're at. I think a couple standouts. Austin Brinkman, who's our long snapper, has done a really good job. I think from a returner standpoint, we're more comfortable than we have been probably in the last couple of years, like what those guys are doing. We run better on our coverage units. Parker's been a huge addition that'll really help us on our kickoff team. We offensively thought started fast, which is something that was important. I thought both Justin Johnson and Tony Mathis and C.J. Donaldson all ran the ball effectively. Michael Laughlin did not go, but he practiced last Thursday. Didn't do any 11-on-11 work. He practiced with the team. We feel confident that he'll be ready for week one. Offensive line, I think that we continue to really kind of move some guys around, make sure we have enough snaps during fall camp to make sure that if we need to move some guys and play them in different positions, we've done that. Feel good about where we're at there. And then, made some plays downfield at wideout. I think from a receiver standpoint, Reese Smith has had, and we've talked about this, but he's had a really solid fall camp as a guy that's maybe made a move. Because you always ask about that, who's made a move. I think it's fair to say that he's really made a move. And then Cortez Braham, junior college transfer, has been impressive. Defensively, we wanted to get a look at a lot of guys that maybe hadn't played as many snaps. One guy that I thought did well starting at linebacker was Exree Lowe. Coming off the injury, really showed some flashes in the scrimmage. I thought Sean Martin has continued to have a nice camp along the defensive line. Mike Lockhart probably had his best day on Thursday, and we've been trying to get him in shape, and I think he's there. He's on track to be ready, and he's going to be a help for us. I thought that all three of the transfers had nice scrimmages in the secondary. Jasir Cox, Wesley McCormick, Rashad Ajayi, and all three of those guys will play and play a lot in the game. And then I thought Marcus Floyd, he had a nice scrimmage in the secondary. So Lance Dixon's had a really good camp, maybe up for probably most improved guy overall, which is a good sign. And I like the way we run. I think athletically we run really well defensively right now. And so before y'all ask, I know like y'all are sitting on pins and needles. We have not made a decision about a punter, Greg. So like if you're going to ask that starting off. But quarterback-wise, here's what I'll say, and I'm not really going to announce anything today, but feel really good about our present and our future. We're working through that. I'm not trying to be coy about it. We'll announce a starter before the game. It's not about that. We're not to that point yet. And so but I know you'll ask about that. So that's kind of where we're at on it. I'm good with talking about them, but there's not been a final decision. So with that, I'll take questions, Greg.
Okay, so outside of quarterback, in terms of 2D, have you made other decisions? I mean, you haven't decided punter, right tackle though.
I think
defensive backfield things.
Yeah,
like
we're going to let those. I think we know who we're going to play, and what I mean by that is, and I dropped the ball last time I was in here. He asked me about Neil Diamond, man, and it was teed up for me for Kentucky Woman, man, and I did not, Bob. So I feel that's really been eating away at me for a couple weeks here. So whenever I talked to y'all last, so I dropped the ball on talking about Kentucky Woman there by Neil Diamond. So, but I think we know who we're going to play. And so what I mean by that is we feel good. We've got between the four guys that we've talked a lot about on the offensive line, and then Jordan White, Jaquay Hubbard, Brandon Yates. We feel we're going to play 7 guys up there. Who's going to roll out there first? We're probably going to let that go up until game week. But we're going to play 7 guys for sure up there. Mike O'Laughlin, we feel good that he's going to play with him, Palende, and Traylon Davis. Trying to figure out exactly how we'll do the running back reps, but the guys that have been the most consistent have been Justin and Tony, and I think CJ gives us an opportunity for a different type of back. And then a receiver, know the guys that'll play. Want to give another week to some of the newcomers to see how they're going to continue to progress as we get into some game planning. Defensively, we'll run a bunch of D linemen in there week 1. It's going to be warm. That's traditionally how we play anyway. Linebacker, trying to figure out who the 4th linebacker is going to play. We'll let that proceed through this week. And then the secondary, who's actually going to be the first group. I think it's probably to be determined. And we've got a battle there for who's really going to play behind Marcus Floyd there. So, got a good idea, like I said, who we're going to play. As far as naming a starter at those, we'll let that play out during this mock week.
Okay, ask about quarterback. I mean, you won't name a starter, but what have you seen out of those guys? What do you like? What do they need to?
Yeah.
What concerns you?
Yeah. So, I'll start just talking about Nico first. I think I really like his progression from the spring through fall camp, and I think that the thing that a lot of true freshman quarterbacks don't get a lot of game-like reps versus your first defense, and he's got a bunch. I think he got a bunch in the spring, he's got a bunch during fall camp, and his progression is it's been good to see. Knowledge of what we're doing offensively, knowledge of what the defense is trying to do. His ability to the game slowing down for him, and he had a really nice scrimmage on Thursday. And then you talk about Garrett. We played him live in our first scrimmage, not our second one, just too close to the game. But he's matured. He's got to continue to work on his decision making, but really from an arm talent standpoint and throws he can make, he's really flashed, and he's gotten faster. He's ran one of the fast on our GPS. That Mike keeps track of. He's ran some of the fastest times during fall camp. And then JT's experienced. He's very mature. We've talked about his intelligence. I think his timing has improved as he's gone because, we forget, the summer workouts are so different as far as throwing full speed. We're able to do some OTAs, but it's not necessarily you're not throwing versus defense. So they do that on their own. And so he's just had these, 14, 15 practices to really get his timing down. And you can see that improving. And then Goose has been really steady. I think that's the kind of, he's consistent, knows what to do, throws a very catchable ball. And so I think all of them has some ups, and we've had some, we've thrown some balls to the defense, and the longer you go in fall camp, the harder it is on offenses because defenses are seeing what you are. So, but I'm pleased with them. And like I said, I feel very confident in our present situation, and I feel confident about the future of those guys too.
Defensively, when you go to your 6 defensive backs and more specialty packages, would you rather have a guy that's focused on that extra DB spot, or is it okay if it's a backup at one of the other positions? Which one?
No, I think it's what you want to do is if you could have somebody that was their specialty role, that'd be good. And we're trying to get some young guys ready for that. Whether they'll be ready week 1 or not, I think it's to be determined. But we've got some guys back there. We've talked about Charles, and we've talked about the 2 transfer corners, Andrew Wilson-Lamp, and some of the other guys. Lamp, this is a big week for him. He had a probably his best scrimmage on Thursday night. This week, get him some more reps versus good people and kind of see where he's at. Marcus and Aubrey Burks have been really consistent. Hershey McLaurin's coming along, Jasir, Davis Mallinger. And then can Jacoby Spells get himself ready where he can be a guy in a dime package or something like that? I think that's probably to be determined.
When you make decisions on personnel, what do you factor in more? Guys that make great splash plays or the guy that minimizes bad plays? What do you value more whatever position it is?
Yeah, I think playing time in general is about trust, and you want consistency in performance. But there's also it's going to be taken into account, can this guy make a big play? Because our game's so much explosiveness now. And so those guys have a little bit longer runway, so to speak. But we're looking for consistency. And also, too, I think, is you got to be able to project a little bit. It's a long year. And so as you get going in the season, the adrenaline from a first game, the heat's definitely a factor. So you got to be prepared to play more guys early on and knowing that you're going to have injuries and some things that happen during the course of the season. So you want to get those guys in games early where they'll be ready down the road.
Quarterback thing, I'm not using your words against you, but you mentioned before that second Thursday scrimmage, that's kind of like when you said like you'll know when you know.
Yeah.
It should arrive around there, and you say you feel confident about that.
And we got a really good idea, Mike. We just hadn't done all the work before I came in here and talked to y'all.
Playing an FBS team right away, how does that change this week?
A really good FBS team.
Yeah, right.
away.
Versus
Yeah.
playing like Eastern Kentucky or an FCS team, and I don't know, maybe you can be a little bit more broad with personnel in this next 4, 5, 6 days versus maybe to be more immediate, more urgent with who you get practice time in this week.
Well, so it makes it more difficult. It's when you open up against a really good opponent and you factor in the fact that it's a rivalry game too, so there's going to be a lot of emotion into it. So it makes it difficult. And I think that from a playing time, it's going to be a really big moment. It's college game days there. It's nationally televised. You would know, I think it's the only Power 5 versus Power 5 game maybe on Thursday night. But so there's a little bit more into this game than your normal opener. And so I think that you have to take that into account, as far as getting guys ready to play. And what we try to do is you're never going to mimic the atmosphere that's going to be there on Thursday night, a week from Thursday. Try to create as much pressure as you possibly can to see how these guys that are on the fence, are they ready for the moment? Are they not? So you try to create some real pressurized situations in front of their teammates to see if they're going to perform or not. And so that's what we're trying to do. It's an inexact science to sit here and tell you that I had the perfect recipe for it. Because, you watch the NFL, right? And you're sitting there watching a preseason game last night, and they all have 3, some of them have 4 preseason games. And so they got a chance to iron out the kinks. I was watching the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes, he rolls out there, and I think he plays 2 drives in a row, then he goes and sits down, right? The Steelers, they've gotten all 3 quarterbacks. They've gone out there and got a pretty good idea and getting some reps. Well, college, you're rolling out there and you played against yourselves. So if you're doing well on one side, you don't know if you're good or the other side's bad, right? You don't really know till you get into the first quarter or so of action. So it makes it more difficult. I bounced around there. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but it's a harder deal. And I guess to the point is we've tried to create more pressurized situations to see if guys that have transferred or are unproven at this level or that are incoming freshmen or guys that maybe redshirted last year that didn't have the pressure on them. We tried to create opportunities for them to show that they're ready and to build that trust with the staff and with their teammates. But-
said about the way you have to open the season, that it would be a large advantage at quarterback to have a guy that's played in big games and played before, a lot of people and on national television alike, rather than the other three guys.
Yeah. Well, the good thing about it is so, you go back to like the Oklahoma game with Garrett, and that was a pretty big moment. That's ABC Saturday night game. He played a lot of football. And then Nico's game last year versus Bishop Gorman was one of the most watched high school football games. And so those guys have some opportunities that are maybe a little bit different. I'm not saying they're the same as, don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. But they've played in some pressure situations on national TV that I think give them an opportunity to be ready for that kind of atmosphere as well. What were you going to say, Ken? Sorry.
I was just curious, you mentioned Donaldson before and a couple of the young guys. Any other freshmen that kind of worked their way into the mix?
Yeah, so I think, I'll start on, on offense and just kind of C.J. Donaldson I think he's got he's proven that he's ready to go. He's got the body for it. We'll continue to prep him this week. Defensively, Asani Redwood is a freshman that I think I really like the kid's ability. I think that's a guy that, man, is going to make a bunch of plays here, this year and moving forward. Jacoby Spells, talked about him. Riley Collins, I think, is a guy that's going to make an impact on special teams. Let's see here. I think those guys are the main guys for when we talk about like true freshmen that have stuck out over the last week or so.
You mentioned punter earlier, too. How are things going there?
Well, that's a battle. Yeah, and I was kind of joking about it, but it is a battle. Colt McGee and Oliver Straw. That's a battle. We're going to let that play out. That may play out through our last, what is really our last full speed practice on Monday, a week from today, I guess. But we're going to let that play out.
As you guys have described him, he's a little bit different than like traditional running back.
Yeah.
How do you break the seal and play a guy like that and know it's going to work, and then not be discouraged if it doesn't work, and not be head over heels if it does look good? I mean, it's so different what you might do in the normal course of play.
Well, so he's probably got more live action as far as full tackle than our other running backs, and he's got probably more carries versus our first team defense than any of the other two or the other three running backs. So we got a pretty good, how he's handled that. Played a really good high school program, and so excuse me. Do I know how it's going to go on Thursday? No, but I do. He's proven himself in practice, and so the thing that we want to do with him is kind of grow his role as we go through. It is going into it. Will he be in a featured role? I'm not sure. He's going to play. I feel really confident telling you he's going to play, but he's a guy that I think his role will increase as he's had success and gained some experience.
You talked about Hammond Russell a lot last fall, but I haven't asked about him this fall.
Yeah,
So how's he
he
doing?
is. He's progressing. I think he's going to have a role. He does. He's a really good, heavy-handed. Does a really good job playing double teams. He's going to be in that D-line rotation that we talked about, Greg. I think he's progressing. He's progressing. Well, he had a little bit of an injury that limited his conditioning during the summer. He missed about 6 weeks, so he's playing himself back. But he'll be in the mix.
Seems like everybody's been talking about Justin Johnson and Rhodesia. What is the difference in
Well, he's stronger. I think that's the thing. Like he's put on some good weight. He's added strength. He's a guy that really going back to the winter and then in the summer followed that up with two really good. And he was competitive in both of those areas. And he's taking advantage. I think he's gotten faster. He had a long, 60-plus run in the scrimmage on Thursday, so that was good to see. And we liked him in high school. Sometimes it just takes guys a little bit longer. I thought he did some good things. We didn't play very well in the bowl game offensively, but his carries, I thought he did some nice things. So I thought, the bowl prep was good for him as well. And but he's a guy that he's going to get some carries and he's going to be ready to play. And I think that that he's going to surprise some people.
So this is mock game week. Can you kind of just explain what goes on?
Yeah. So we did a traditional Tuesday practice yesterday. We'll do a Wednesday practice today. We'll do our Thursday walkthrough, our Fast Friday, and then our mock game where we just kind of go over a bunch of scenarios in the stadium Thursday night under the lights, and then start a traditional game week, which is Friday would be a Sunday for us. So that's kind of what we're doing. And, we just started class last Wednesday, so it's getting guys kind of ready. What's their school schedule look like? Again, it's different because you're playing on a Thursday and I open up a Saturday. So just kind of getting guys how we're going to work. And it's not just about the first game. It's about game 4 and game 6 too, how we'll operate on a Thursday.
Mock travel? I mean, I know the coaches.
We'll go to the hotel. We're not going to spend the night, but we'll go over to the hotel and just so they know kind of what for a home game, what it looks like and how we maneuver, and we'll do take them on the path we take in the man trip and so on.
Your offensive staff has a pretty good idea because the Pitt defense is pretty attacked. I'm guessing Boston College is probably a point that you have to look at.
Yeah, I think anytime. Well, they were really good offensively last year, so I think you have to study that. Even though Whip has left and went to Nebraska, I think you got to look because all the other, outside of the receiver coach, the rest of the offense staff is there, played really well on the offensive line. So I think you got to really study what they did because Coach Cignetti's been doing it, for a long time. He's been really successful. And, most really good coaches are going to look at what you did previously well and try to keep those things. So we have to study that. And then, of course, what he's done at Boston College. And then you look at what the quarterback's done well too, and obviously Graham has a decent feel for that, because he coached them. And they haven't announced the quarterback either. And so kind of look at the other kid, Patty, he played in a few games last year. So you look at what they've done well because, again, a really good play caller, which Cignetti's definitely done that, is he's going to play the quarterback strength. So you kind of pull from all three of those areas to kind of get a good feel. And honestly, you're always guessing game 1 anyway because people are going to kind of be a little bit different. There's 8 or 9 months in the off season there where they got a chance to tinker and experiment with new ideas. And so it's a little bit of a crapshoot week 1 anyway.
Different contingencies on the offensive line you're talking about. I guess I'm assuming here, but maybe right tackle's involved in that. What do you need to see to feel good about who you have there so you don't maybe have to make a change? And then how does Jordan White factor into – I know he's not a tackle, but it seems like he's part of the equation there in some regard.
He is. We're gonna go into week 1 and play 7. You've kind of already made that determination. We're going to play him. We've got the ability – Jordan White can play both guards and center. Brandon Yates can play both tackle spots. Jaquay Hubbard can play guard and tackle. Doug Nestor can play guard and tackle. And so we've gotten a bunch of reps in all those areas. But we're going to go in. We're going to play 7. They all 7 of them deserve to play, and that includes Jordan White. And so they'll play in week 1. Anybody else? All right, good deal. Thank you all.